Greetings, gamers, and welcome to Season 5, Episode 7 of Rho Pi Gamma, the Gamers Podcast. I'm, of course, your GM, Byron, and unfortunately my co-host is in Disney World. Lucky jerk. But I'm hoping he's having fun. He's off with family, and, of course, next week I'll be visiting him. But because of that, this had actually been suggested by Puff, who is joining us, as well as our friend Allison. And Miri is actually physically with me right at the moment, and I'll be handing things over to her here in just a second. A while back, we actually on Rho Pi Gamma did do an all girls episode. I think we've done it maybe once or twice.
Once.
And
I think once.
It was just. I know it was like the first season or so. I'm wondering if we had ever done another one, but Puff had recommended possibly doing it again. I was all for it. My co-host is off in Florida, so I figured, why not this week? So, that being said, I being the only male in this group right at the moment, I am going to go to another room. Because last time we did this, they tied me up, gagged me, and shoved me under the desk. I don't want them to do that this time. So, with that being said, I will hand things over to my editor, who will now become the master of ceremonies. Yep, that's what you get for being here. So, with that, I hope you all enjoy, and here we go.
Okay.
So, have at thee.
Okay, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes. It's ours. It's finally ours. I'm done now.
So, what did we decide to talk about again?
Everything.
I think our topic was like feminism in gaming.
And our perspective as GMs, since all of us run games as well.
Yep,
that's right. All of us are female GMs, so I think Allison has the best idea of what we're supposed to be talking about, so I think I'll hand the ball over to her to get things started.
I did not prepare for this in any way, so I'm sorry.
Did you ever prepare for this podcast?
I didn't prepare for this either, so...
Well, we can start with a little bit of background then.
Yeah.
I have been gaming for going on 10 years now. My husband actually introduced me to gaming. At the time, of course, he was my boyfriend. And I have run a number of games since then, ranging from Exalted, Pathfinder, Mutants and Masterminds. I've run a couple of one-shots in D6 Star Wars and Wheel of Time role-playing game as well.
Okay. Puff, what's your GMing experience?
All right, let's see. I started gaming in 2002 when I met Byron at college. I probably might have mentioned this before in previous episodes that I've been on.
Probably.
But it's kind of a funny story. There I am, fresh-faced, had no idea what D&D was. Sitting in the student lounge, Byron's walking around. Hey, Buff, do you want to join the RPG club? What's that? The look on Byron's face, the smile that spread. It was like new meat. From there, Byron ran a Star Wars game and a D&D game that I played in. And after that, I jumped right into running a D20 Modern Resident Evil game because Resident Evil is one of my big fandoms. And that game went pretty darn well, if I will toot my own horn. From there, I have gone to creating my own system for a Transformers game, Transformers being another one of my fandoms, using a D10 system that I like to call it the bastardized child of the D20 system and the D6 system. From there, let's see. I've run some Star Wars D6 games, like maybe 2. I've done D&D. I've done one-shots. I've run at conventions, mainly Anime USA. And that's about it for me. Kudos to my teacher, Byron.
Yay, Byron! Normal host of this podcast. Can't believe he left me in charge.
You got the chair, dude. That's. But
He doesn't
you're
have a very
in charge, I mean,
comfy
you can
chair.
delegate.
Alright, so I guess I should talk a little bit more about myself. I've been on here a couple of times this season. I'm the official editor for Rho Pi Gamma right now. A job that has been slightly interrupted by the fact that I am currently in the middle of a cross-country move, staying with Byron for a couple of days, which is how I got roped into this. I grew up with gamers. I'm the youngest person here. I'm actually only 20. My parents have been gaming since they were younger than I am now, which was like 30 years ago. But so I kind of grew up in the culture. I've always kind of wanted to GM. My dad he's kind of the Byron of his group. He was the one who was GMing all the time, and so I got to hear all of his stories, and I've always wanted to do it. I've run a few games, all of which have kind of crashed and burned, so I don't purport to be a very good GM. Of course, Byron's about to come in here and yell at me. I ran for my first game. I was working on a homebrew system that was like a bastardization of my mom's homebrew system that she uses to run horror games. And I ran like an exploration type game for some of my friends, which didn't go so well because they were all used to playing video games and I was running a sandbox style game and it just didn't work. Then I started running a fantasy game based on like a bunch of old D&D modules. That didn't last very long, unfortunately, because of scheduling issues.
Schedule death, man.
Schedule death. It sucks. Everybody went to college and then I lost all my players.
Oh.
But I've run a couple of one-on-one FFRPG for those of you who don't know what that is, the Final Fantasy role-playing game system for Byron, and he seems to be really enjoying that. And I don't know if you guys heard that. Did you guys hear that? Did that make it through the microphone?
I know it was Byron.
Byron shouted, "Heck yes."
Okay.
And I'm currently preparing a game for Byron, Puff, Liz, and a friend of mine, based off of Monium and Rooster Teeth's web series, Ruby, which all of you gamers out there who really like high-action anime-type stuff, you should seriously go check out. Seriously, the first season is like 2 hours long. I promise. Yes. It's cool.
Awesome. It's on YouTube, and it's on the Rooster Teeth website.
Mm-hmm.
The DVD is only $10 at Walmart, FYI.
I have been informed that Byron will put a link in the description to the playlist on Rooster Teeth's official YouTube channel, and if he doesn't, then I will, because I'm the official editor. Muhahaha.
Hell yeah.
So, with that out of the way, I guess we actually have to start talking about a topic now. Didn't you guys see an article about, like, cosplayers and harassment and stuff that made everybody want to puke? I didn't actually read through that.
I couldn't figure out if it was satire or not. But there was also another article that we were discussing too. We were discussing like 3 articles.
Yeah. about geek culture, the role of females there, and that one about gender inclusiveness in D&D Next and being
Oh yes,
bigoted
there
ways.
are men with tiny penises who are very upset about the fact that Pathfinder and now the newest edition of D&D are being gender inclusive with their character creation sections. And gender and sexual identity inclusive all around.
Which is ridiculous.
That upsets me to no end because this is a hobby that is for everyone. So why would you not want to include being able to play somebody like who you are? If you are, you know, a lesbian or a gay man or, you know, a transgender person, maybe I would like to play a transgender character. Thank you.
It's also kind of ridiculous because whether the book says it or not, people are going to do what they want. So why not have the book, you know, acknowledge the people who, you know, are going to be playing these types of characters? Because whether the book includes them or not, it's going to happen.
I expect it's for the same reason that video game makers and comic writers insist that no one wants to play a game or read a comic about a hero who is not a white man. Apparently.
Well, I don't know. There's a few games out there and a few game developers who are really changing that. And
that is true. There are. I've heard some good things coming from some games have, I think it's mostly MMOs, that have added the ability to have, like, relationships. And they can be male, female, and whatnot.
Yeah. BioWare's getting pretty good about...
I lost Miri. Miri went out. Alright, stand by everybody. We did end up losing Miri to a net hiccup, I believe. So we'll just wait till Miri pops back in. And hopefully she can edit this.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Can she edit this part out later?
I hope so, because everybody's going to be like,
okay, I can hear everybody again. Alright, sorry about that. Technical difficulties.
We can edit that out, right?
Sorry, listeners. Technical difficulties.
It wouldn't be the podcast without technical difficulties. Byron passed them on to us. Sorry, guys. The podcast is cursed.
Sorry, all.
Yeah. All right, so where were we?
So, what were we all talking about?
Video games with romances? And
video games with male, female romances, gender inclusiveness, yada yada.
Certain people not liking that.
Yeah, mainly heteronormative males with small penises.
I'm not going to speculate on the size of their penis because that is a little, what's the word, confrontational?
Petty.
Yeah, because you know what? I'm not even going to speculate. But
yeah.
It is pretty asshole-ish if you're going to be upset about a game that basically allows anyone and everyone to have something. Everyone should be able to have a relationship in life and in the game.
Yeah. But no, I'm sure that in the minds of such individuals, we women, we're always going to be petty about things.
We can be.
Which is why they like to imagine a fantasy world where we apparently don't exist.
No, we exist in scantily clad armor that will not protect us at all.
Hey, I don't know. Awkwardly enough, I'm kind of into the whole chainmail bikini thing, as long as you realize how freaking ridiculous that is.
I will give you that. I'm not going to ride into battle in it.
Using it as actual armor in an actual video game where the male armor has much more coverage is just not right.
I agree.
Awkwardly enough, and I read this story somewhere else, the makers of World of Warcraft, when they were creating the game, initially, were worried about the whole image, sexuality, whatever thing that had been going around with female video game characters and stuff, and how sexualized they were. And so they made characters with more average body types for the females was their default body type. And more girls complained about it than guys because they felt like they were playing a character that was, sexy enough. They wanted to play characters that they wanted to look like in life. And I mean, I find it kind of interesting. I think personally, instead of saying people should only include non-sexy characters, I think they should include more than one body for your female character, so that you're not running around with 5 different characters that you can make and everybody looks the same.
Now, that is why I like Soul Calibur with their character creation. You can actually manipulate the body type where you can be taller, shorter, skinnier, fatter. You can literally build your body type. You can also use many different, clothing styles and whatnot, so you're not completely, you're limited somewhat, but, they actually thought about, okay, we're not just going to give you this, thin stick woman with some big boobs that can't even really physically happen. You'd snap in half.
Although they already provided that in the form of Ivy.
That is true, but Ivy has something that just makes it work.
Huge tracts of land. I believe is what you were going for there.
Yes.
Although, I think, I don't know, maybe we should turn the topic back to, pen and paper role-playing games before Byron uses it.
I actually had thought of a question on that topic.
Alright. Shoot.
Basically, what has been the makeup of your role-playing groups that you've run for? Like the male-to-female ratio. Have you had anyone play the opposite gender, things like that?
I'll go first, because I actually probably have the least typical experience. Awkwardly, most of my gaming groups have either been fairly equal or mostly female. And the guys that I play with, my friends, CJ and Brendan, of them, Brendan actually, almost never plays a male character, just because he enjoys playing girls more, and he actually does a fairly good job of playing female characters. Let's see. What else have I run for? Well, I've got this freeform thing going on right now where I'm basically the GM, and that's mostly guys, but I'm not entirely sure my boyfriend counts. Okay, there's a story behind that. My boyfriend does crossplay costumes as a hobby, and he also plays mostly female characters, so not entirely sure he counts. But yeah, most of my groups have been mostly girls. My original gaming group that I did was my friend Al, who's a girl. AL is like the initials of her screen name. My mom, my friend Ressie, I think was in that game. My friend DC, my friend Faye, both girls. My ex-boyfriend, he wasn't in there for very long. He was kind of a jerk.
The ex.
Then Brendan. Was he in that game? No, he was in the other game. I've run a few games for basically the same group of people, and it's mostly girls and Brendan, who, again, not entirely sure he counts as a dude.
What does he identify himself as? This question I can
He identifies himself as a dude, but everybody else isn't entirely sure.
Well, if he says he's a dude, then he is a dude.
Right,
Then
that's
he
what's
is a
important.
He's
He's
okay. I'm done.
Yeah, he's known to introduce himself with, "Hi, my name is Brendan, and I'm bi, and so are all my characters, so deal with it."
Hey, that works for me.
He's a pretty cool dude. You would also be forgiven for mistaking him for a girl from a distance. But okay, I'm done talking
people
about
are
my
androgynous.
weird friends. I'm done talking about my weird friends. Okay, Allison, you brought up the question, so you're next.
Okay then. Most of the groups that I have run for have been skewed very slightly towards men, but I still haven't run a game with all guys unless you count the one-shots I ran at a convention. But I don't know. It's really hard to get girls into the gaming room at a convention, so I'm not sure if that entirely counts.
Mm-hmm. Had any cross-gender role players?
Let's see. Other than you in our current Mutants and Masterminds villains game, actually no. I had one player once toy with the idea of building his character as a woman, but since we were playing in person, and I mean, he's a big beefy guy with a big thick beard, it was not going to work for him to be playing a gorgeous abyssal chick. So he played a man instead.
Though my dad apparently plays girls a lot, and he's got facial hair. But then again, he was also like rocking the butt-length ponytail at the time. So
I think it also really depends on the GM, because if you're sitting down in front of people and you're actively looking at the person, you're going to be like, your character, he is. Oh wait, you're playing a she. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we would tend to do that too. I mean, gosh, we even have a hard time with that in the Mutants and Masterminds game, just out of habit.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, it occurs to me that is the only game I've run to date that has skewed towards women, since it's you and Puff and Liz.
Yep.
And then Byron and Matt. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess, Puff, you're up.
It looks like Miri's having technical difficulties again.
come on.
Oh, we can hear you.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, spinning in the chair now.
Okay, I can hear you again too. All right. Didn't take as long this time. Okay, so yes, cross-gender role-playing. I've actually got an interesting story to go with this, but we'll wait until after Puff goes.
Okay.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Can
you hear us?
I could hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Did you hear any of what I was saying before I said that?
Before you said that, or there was a big pause there. Before you were like, I have a story.
Guys, I'm getting ridiculous amounts of lag.
Okay. We can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear
Can
us?
you guys hear me, and is there lag?
I'm not hearing any lag.
Okay,
Me
I
neither.
think the lag is over now. Sorry about that, listeners. Lag? Is there lag?
You dropped out.
There's apparently a lot of lag.
Miri, how about you exit out of the chat, then come back into the chat?
Yeah, give me just a moment.
Sorry, listeners, this is a lot more technical difficulties than is normal.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, no lag. The thing came out, and then I plugged it back in, and then there was like 30-second lag going on.
Okay.
Well, there appears to have been more technical difficulties. Miri's editing magic might have to be employed again somewhere around here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Right.
so
Puff.
My gaming groups have been a fairly good mix of both men and females. I have had fairly good running at conventions. I've had a fairly good mix too of girls. Probably mainly because Transformers when I was running that was really big. No, I had a lot of guys. Never mind that. Resident Evil, I had some girls. It really just dawned on me. It really is hard to get girls to come hang out in the gaming room to sit down and game. I've probably only had like maybe 3 or 4 ever play at con games. Huh. Then again,
meanwhile,
I've ran anime conventions. The anime conventions, while you can, obviously have gaming there, a lot of people aren't focused entirely on that. They are running around, the dealer's room and things like that, so.
and meanwhile, there's Miri, who's running around complaining about the size of the gaming room and the fact that open gaming and tabletop gaming apparently means let's all play Yu-Gi-Oh! Or let's all play Magic.
Yeah.
And there's no such
Or
thing
let's
as
all play Munchkin.
Yeah.
Or let's all play Munchkin.
I don't think I've ever had a player in any of my games. I'm trying to remember. Oh, okay, that's not true because a lot of the times in my Transformers games, my con ones, the players are actually playing canon characters like Bumblebee. So technically they're playing, mechs that are kind of personality-wise men? Maybe? It's really hard because when you start talking gender in Transformers, like everybody starts freaking out for some apparent reason, which makes no sense to me because I'm like, well, these ones are clearly guys, and then you have these ones that are like RC and they're clearly girls. I don't know why anybody's freaking out, but whatever. So I will count that. That I have had plenty of people play, characters that were guys. I have myself played a male character in one of Byron's games. I'm one of the few people that he is allowed to do that. It takes him a while to allow anyone to do that, mainly because he's going to look at you and be like, your character, she is doing... You're a he. Fuck. That's what he will do, like, the entire session.
I remember playing the male character in Allison's like one-shot Exalted game, and that just kept happening. It helped a little with the Mutants and Masterminds game because my character does not have a superhero name, and his regular name is Jason, and there's pretty much no way to mistake that for a girl's name.
That is true. I would welcome more people to. I personally don't mind it at all, as long as obviously you're portraying the gender correctly. You're not just, well, I want to play a girl because I want to be like a slutty bimbo.
Yeah.
Although
there's nothing wrong with that, as long as that's not the be-all and end-all of your character.
Exactly.
I've played slutty characters before.
The slutty character, like I'm specifically saying that, like, you just want to play the character this way because you're making
play a
fun.
girl.
So you can
like
jerk
having
off to the idea of
sex.
them having sex, right?
That and maybe you're making fun or something like that. But like if there's there's always going to be a reason to play a character that's promiscuous. I mean, lady spies. Come on, the best way to assassinate somebody is get them in the bedroom and point that Glock at the head.
Oh, excuse me, there's much better ways to assassinate guys in the bedroom than guns.
Oh, there is. I'm just saying that, hidden under the pillow, they're never going to think about it.
Daggers, poison hairpins.
Oh, that too. No, trust me, I know there's plenty of ways. That was just the first thing that popped out my mouth.
Anyway, no, as I mentioned before when I was having technical difficulties, Puff, if you're done. If you're not done, then I'll shut my big mouth.
I'm done.
Okay. I actually have a story. This one comes from my mother, so I'm pretty sure I'm telling it wrong. But my mom once quit a game because of a sexist GM telling her that she couldn't play a male character. She was playing a female character this was a Champions game, which is superhero role-playing. She was playing a character who had the ability to shapeshift into pretty much anything she wanted. And at one point, she got really fed up with the way the character was being treated by the GM. And so she said, okay, my character walks out the door, and I walk back in, I walk back in as a male character and introduce myself as, I don't remember what the guy's name was, but the GM says that one of the NPCs in their superhero base turns around, greets her by her old superhero name, immediately assuming that it's her. And she's like, you guys have never seen this guy before. He looks absolutely nothing like my previous character, and he's a guy. And the GM hand waves this away, saying, well, there's no way that you would be able to convincingly play a guy so everyone knows it's you.
What? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, apparently my mom, walked on that game that day, that instant.
I would
have too.
Yeah, because he was being kind of a sexist jerk. I'm not going to name him, to, protect the identities of the jerk faces.
to protect the stupid.
To protect the stupid, yes. And he's gotten a lot better since then, and apparently he was suffering from some major burnout at the time, and, everybody else walked away from that game within, a month. So.
Yeah. Well, I, for one, have never actually encountered anyone who's been like that towards me. My gaming history has been with some amazing people who have never, acted like just because I was a girl, I wasn't a good role player.
Yeah, I've never personally run into that either, although I have run into people who have, mostly through the forum role-playing community. I have some friends who have been forum role-playing for a really long time who have run into people like that. Did run into a guy who, tried to take over the forum by being a jerk and turning his girlfriend against us, and he was, basically a borderline classic abuser. But that's something completely different. So, Allison, have you run into any jerk-face male gamers telling you can't game?
Fortunately, no, I have not.
Yeah, that's definitely fortunately, because heaven forbid some guy tell me just because you're a girl doesn't makes you not good. I would be like, really? Let me take you outside and show you how good I am with my fist.
Even the generally munchkin-y, not good role players that we have gamed with in person here at the new-ish gaming store, even they have not dared to say anything about my gaming ability.
Which makes me wonder if this whole, guy gamers can't handle girl gamers thing is just another case of the vocal minority ruining it for everyone frickin' else.
Oh, absolutely. Most of my friends have gotten some variant of the jerk face, telling them they can't game or whatever because they're female.
Yeah.
Particularly on video games like MMOs and such.
Yeah, well, the video game thing and the tabletop game thing in some ways are two, completely different beasts, too, as far as the fandom and the community goes. Tabletop gaming is such a nerdy hobby that I kind of wonder if there really are any guys anymore who, and, there probably are, but there's probably not as many because, oh, hey, there's a girl nerdy enough to share my hobby, yay! And, the video gaming thing is in some ways a lot more mainstream, and it's more of a guy thing, especially shooters and MMOs.
I can definitely agree with that with the video games. From the tabletop perspective, when I started running at conventions, one of the things that I did was I went around and joined some RPG forums and actually, actively, sought out information, especially because part of my role for the convention was talking to companies and procuring prize stuff and whatnot, and other new games and stuff just to demo at the convention. So I ended up talking to a lot of different people, and the majority of them were guys, and when they found out that I was a girl, they were instantly like, that is really cool. What do you run? I was not treated like a piece of meat. I was actually, interacted with. There was, conversation. I was a person, which was awesome. So people were very quick to offer me any kind of advice, things like that. So I've never encountered that within the tabletop community. Not to say that it doesn't happen, because there's always going to be bad apples in anything, but video gaming wise, some people can be real assholes.
Yeah.
I don't particularly do online gaming. I'm not really into MMOs. I really only play Resident Evil and Soul Calibur. That's about it. So nobody really messes with me because I'd be yelling into these headsets like things that I'm not going to say on the podcast.
I am wondering what the swear threshold of the podcast is, because I haven't actually been listening for all that long.
I don't know, but I'm Italian. I'll break it.
Byron just poked his head in here with this weird look like we have a swear threshold.
Apparently we don't. Sorry, listeners. There's going to be F-bombs coming out my mouth.
It's so ingrained in my speech pattern.
Yeah. Byron says keep it PG-13.
Aye, Captain.
That means probably no F-bombs then. Sorry, pal.
I believe that in a PG-13 movie you can say the F word twice before it gets kicked up to R.
Yes!
Okay then.
I think I've already said it once.
But I suppose that's also if you don't have any sexual content or violence or such.
Oh, well, we're already
I
on the
have no
podcast,
idea.
so our sexual content went up, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had to say it.
Although on similar lines, every group is gonna have its creepers who are trying to pick girls up, like with the excuse of sharing the same hobby.
True.
Ugh. My friend Al, who I mentioned on the podcast earlier, she got into role-playing gaming, one through me, but two through her now ex-boyfriend, who turned out to be an abusive creep. So, you know,
It does happen.
it happens. We're not saying it doesn't happen, gals, but it's like my dad always said about customer service, awkwardly enough. 90% of people are generally okay. It's the quality 10% that ruin it for everyone else.
Yep. I can agree to that.
Yep.
Because, like I said, I've never had a creeper in any type of role play sense, be it tabletop or online, and I've been in Buffy the Vampire Slayer online freeform games. I've been in Harry Potter, Transformers. I've played with all sorts of people from everywhere, and to be perfectly honest, I've never had a problem other than, like some people just being like really, really picky about, oh, I don't want your character to get hurt because they're my love interest.
Oh my god.
I love to torment my characters, okay? The more...
My freaking god. You can't have your character get hurt because your character is a girl and it would destroy my male character's heart.
I've had not so much that, just more like my character will like really freak out if you get hurt, and I'm like, okay, but this is Harry Potter and we're fighting Death Eaters.
Yeah.
I think we have to get hurt.
It's kind of funny because in my roleplay groups, my character will seriously freak out if you get hurt is a reason to do something, not a reason not to do something.
Yes. I want my character to get hurt so your character can give me love cuddles. Yes.
I want my character to get hurt so your character can go on a berserk rampage and we can see how this all plays out because we both love torturing our characters so much.
Miri, I love you. I love you, Miri.
Keep it PG-13, guys.
I'll see you after the podcast.
Oh my god. So, for those quality 10% out there, maybe we should do like top 10 ways not to be a jerk face.
Oh god, my friend Allegra does that at every con, and it doesn't seem to help. It's called Nerdicate 101. It's a panel at like all the cons, and it doesn't seem to help.
The first thing that I would say is the problem with them is that there's a lack of open-mindedness. How do you get someone to open up their mind to go, my opinion isn't the only opinion that matters?
Exactly. The creepers are always going to think that they're right and they're doing the right thing, and everybody else is just, friend zoning them or what have you.
I was giving you a compliment.
Or else they use the excuse of, oh, I'm socially awkward. No, if you're really socially awkward, you realize when you said something wrong and you apologize.
Well,
if you're a creeper, you get pointed out to you, and then you say, well, you just shouldn't have taken it that way.
Oh, I hate that.
Oh my god. I did meet a dude like that. That was the dude that told me that if I had worn something slightly more promiscuous than what I was wearing, he wouldn't be able to keep himself from raping me.
Yeah,
that is beyond ridiculous. Now, granted, I have my best friend Rob, who's like my brother. We've known each other since frickin' preschool. There was talk of me cosplaying Phoenix in the green costume, even though I'm more partial to Dark Phoenix. And when he heard that, he was like, I'm going to have to stay home locked away because if you wear the green costume, no one's ever going to see you. I've known him since I was in preschool, so then it's like, okay, that's funny, you know, it's fine, because I know he's not
being serious.
I know he's not actually going to do anything to me.
Yeah, this was a dude that I had known for like half an hour.
That is the creepiest thing ever, because they don't know you from Adam or Eve. I'm not going to know you're joking. For all I know, you have chloroform in your pocket, and you're going to take me into your van.
The creepier thing was that he said it when I was alone in a car with him, and he looked at me, and I could tell that he was actually, like, seriously being serious. Like, he said afterwards that it was a joke, but I'm like, from the expression on your face, no, I don't think that was a joke.
It was only a joke because you weren't down with it. If you had been down with it, it wouldn't have been a joke. Which, that's... I mean, I get it. You want to, you know, somehow tell someone that you have an attraction to them before, well, you know, we've known each other too long, so we've been friends for blah, blah, blah. You know, that stuff happens. However, if you actually want a relationship with a person instead of just getting, you know, laid, hey, I really like you. You know, I like hanging out with you. Could we maybe, you know, hang out again sometime with our friends? Make it casual. Make sure, you know, you're talking about having other people around so people are comfortable. And just don't be a douchebag. Like, concentrate more on the other person's feelings than your own, you know, penis.
10 ways to not be a dick. If you want to compliment a girl's attractiveness, you do not look at them with creepy eyes and say, yeah, it's a good idea you didn't wear that because I would have taken you right then and there whether you wanted me to or not. That's not the correct way to go about this.
No, that is how you get restraining orders.
Yes, that is how you get restraining orders placed against you.
That is how I pop you in the face. I'll take the assault charge. I will. Yeah. If you're coming up into my personal bubble, like, all right, I am a touchy-feely, huggy, you know, type of person. I'm not, you know, weird about that kind of thing.
But, you know, even for touchy-feely people, there's a personal space bubble.
There is a bubble. And there are certain people allowed in that bubble. If I don't know you, and you are trying to invade my bubble, it's war. The bubble archers are attacking. That's it.
The bubble archers are attacking.
The bubble archers are standing by.
Yeah. So, what kinds of things would you guys like to see more of in, like, the gaming world? Like, we were talking about D&D Next and its inclusive language. What would you like to see, like, else done in, like, the RPG industry regarding, like, female characters and inclusiveness and stuff?
I'll allow Allison to go first because I was dominating the conversation for a while there.
I've got to think about that one.
All right, let's let this question sink in for a minute because that's a very good question, Miri.
Should we move on to something else and come back to that?
Do we have something else?
I've got questions. I guess that's the reason that I got nominated. The person who does stuff. What is the official title? Master of Ceremonies?
Yeah, Master of Ceremonies, MC.
Okay. Because, like, I don't know, I like the person who does stuff better.
The person who does stuff.
That one doesn't have a good acronym, though.
Mary, you're in charge of stuff.
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 I had something. What would you guys like to see more in your gaming groups, since we're all GMs here?
Do you mean specifically in groups that we're running, or groups that we just generally RP with the most?
Either either way, what would you like to run for? What would you like to see, people do? Habits you would like to see people cultivate? Habits you would like to see people, completely drop?
Byron needs to let me take over the world once, damn it. No, okay, I'm kidding.
Really? Are you?
Only half kidding. I mean, honestly, I'm very spoiled. My group I've always had a really good group, and for the most part, any quote unquote bad story I can ever give is probably mostly somebody having a bad day, and just the circumstances happening as they were. Like, no one was ever actually a bad role player or a bad person.
Okay. So, groups at conventions and stuff, then?
Honestly, the only thing that I had a problem with at a convention was, well, two things. Everybody wanted to play my Transformers games, and I didn't get breaks, and I wanted to go to sleep. And which that isn't really even that bad. I did lose my voice, which was kind of bad, but at the same time was awesome. Really, you're running at a convention, so you do run into, if you're doing a 3-hour block, something may be going on in the middle of your game, and some player decides, oh, I wanted to go see this panel, bye.
I'm guilty of that.
It's always the player that you're like, but I gave you all the information to get through the facility. Are you leaving me? Why? Okay, I'm good.
That's why you don't give all your information to one player.
That's generally how it happens in Resident Evil. Somebody gets the folder, somebody, blah, 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 but okay.
Anyway.
No, I'm pretty solid, man. I'm good.
Mm-hmm. Any character archetypes that you would like to see more of?
I've never been in a game where anybody's played, a transgender person. I've never really been in a game where gender really was more of a big deal. Not a big deal, but where gender actually, I don't want to say mattered, but mattered.
Came into play.
Yeah, it never really came into play so much, aside from random, okay, my character's digging your character, and that's, that's part of a lot of role plays that happen, but, it would definitely be interesting to see things like, example, the newer Transformers comics, basically they did away with having female Transformers until one mad scientist decided to take a male Transformer and make him female. That whole psychological thing, having that play out, might be interesting. But, that's going to take, obviously, the right type of players, the right type of GM, the right game. Yeah, but there is things that you can do with gender and swapping out that can be plot points that I've never seen that so much.
Okay. So, Allison, same questions. First question, is there anything you'd like to see more of in, games you run and games you play and habits you'd like to see people cultivating more? As far as, towards female characters, towards female gamers, or even, in general, what would you like to see people do more of, and what would you like to see people do less of?
Well, in general, I find that every time I run a game, whether it's an individual session or a session of an ongoing game, I find that one of two things happens, and it needs to come somewhere towards the middle of those two things, because either everybody sits there and won't do anything until I prod them in the direction of the story, and even then they rarely really jump on it, and get going. And then the rest of the time, my players will just run away with whatever they have decided to do and leave me in the dust. and unprepared, which I can run very well unprepared, so I prefer that scenario. But really, I would like for players to give their characters some individual initiative and motivation and actually try and get shit done sometimes. Whether or not I've prepared a story or, had somebody send you on a mission or, you don't really need that, or you shouldn't.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The Frontier game that I mentioned that I ran, it seemed like everybody was looking for the guy with yellow exclamation point over his head.
Yeah.
For those of you who play MMOs, you'll get that reference. The quest giver NPC who stands there looking suspicious.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
even when I gave them that person, they didn't seem to know what to do with him. So I don't even know.
Yeah. The meandering player group does seem to be a thing. And Howard has talked about it on the podcast so many times, but the quote-unquote the tray method would probably really help that. And I mean, it's amazing where I'm really trying hard to make that something that I strive for now, because it seems like it would make things flow so much easier where, you're ready to go, you're driving the story based on what the GM has given you and not just going, I don't know what I'm doing.
I can't stand playing in games that are going like that. When I'm a player, I'll be like, okay, I'm getting antsy. We're gonna do this. Let's go.
I think a problem that I have is obviously a lot of times my characters aren't like the leader, and I am very much, if there's somebody in charge, I'm going to try to step back and let them be in charge. That's probably one of my things with our Epic game, actually. Me and Ella are like, the prince, he's our leader. Why is he ordering?
It's hard on me because I'm not playing the face for once, even though I have good charisma and diplomacy and such.
Same here.
Hadassah still falls after Kieran and Anaya in terms of face character.
Why did I get stuck with the character who's always doing everything? Like, I'm serious.
Play a bard.
I
That's
hate
what the bard does.
being the character who everybody talks to and who has to lead the party. I hate being party leader. So what do? I play the bard who is like nominated automatic party leader. And I'm like, okay, there's a paladin here. He's the prince. I won't have to be party leader. Nope. I'm still party leader because he makes me party leader.
The thing is that Howard doesn't want to step on any of our toes, so he's not actively stepping Kieran up to do that. I think he needs to be stepping up to be that leader and say, all right, Hadassah, I need you to flank over here. Ella, I need you over here throwing fireballs over here. I don't care if you hit me.
Is that he seems to be doing that, except what he's doing is he's delegating.
Yeah, he delegates.
He's delegating, like, Othello, be our war leader, Anaya, be our, like, smooth-talking schmooze person, and I will step in when a princess touch is needed. Also, I hear Byron laughing at me in the background.
So at the same time, though, as the paladin in this epic game story with the demon dragon and all of that, he is perfectly positioned to be the hero. Like, he's meant to be the centerpiece of the story.
Yeah.
He's the main character. Okay,
yeah, I mean,
here's how it goes. Kieran is the main character. Othello is the secondary lead. Anaya is the person who's good with people. Hadassah is like the mystic spiritualist guide person. Ella is the ridiculously sassy chick who throws massive fireballs around and doesn't afraid of anything.
I love it. Sassy.
And Tass is the other sassy chick who,
We haven't seen enough of Tass yet.
is
You're gonna be
the rogue. And I honestly don't know a lot about Tass, but she's like the sneaky person.
Oh, we're gonna know a lot more about Tass soon.
We need to give Liz a chance to talk more so she can actually play her character.
We need to give Tass a chance to do awesome things.
Well, Byron needs to make sure that our enemies don't die in one hit, so we can all do
That was ridiculous.
I really don't mind if they all die like that every time. It should be a running gag.
Allison called it.
You did.
I told you it was not going to last more than one round.
He's so going down in one round, and Byron's like, I will be totally impressed if he goes down.
After Byron amped him up and was like, oh, you guys are going to be so screwed. No.
Nope.
That kind of build up, there is no way that this is not ending in anticlimax.
Yeah, guys, we need to stop talking about this. Byron is yelling at me in the background.
We do need to stop because you know what? I'm going through DTs, man. DTs. I got the shakes or something. I don't know.
It is not my fault that everyone is on vacation for the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Howard, you better be enjoying Disney. That's all you're saying.
Howard better be enjoying Disney.
I want a Mickey hat, dude.
So anyway, now that we've gone completely off topic,
means this is actually officially the podcast.
This is actually officially the podcast. We've gone off on a long tangent.
We've gone on a crazy tangent. Okay.
And we've had massive technical difficulties.
What was that question that we passed on?
What we would like for the industry to do regarding inclusiveness.
I had one more question for Allison first. Okay, Allison, any character archetypes that you would like to see people playing more in games you run? Archetypes, types of characters, not just like the standard archetypes, whatever.
Right.
Characters you'd like to run for.
I like seeing people be creative, which frequently the people I run for are, so I don't really have to worry about that too much. But like I'm running a solo game for Matt currently, which is he's one where he's playing all 4 of the characters. But it's a Pathfinder game, and actually we had already done this once before. So the first time around he played the classic like D&D party, the cleric, the fighter, the thief, and the wizard. But we actually put a spin on that one too, because I set it in like Golden Age, ancient Greece.
Ooh.
And it was really fun. And I mean, he was playing half the party as female characters, so there was some cross-playing going on there too. I didn't really count that since it was just the 2 of us. But it was a very interesting game. I ran them from like level 1 to level 20. It ended on an epic quest. Actually, it started on the epic quest because the entire storyline was built around the cleric working to raise her family from the dead because they had been slain by bandits. And so she had to become, a high-level cleric in order to do that. And the final scene had them going to the underworld to physically get them back. Very, very classic ancient Greek.
That's so cool.
But we're currently doing a riff on that where he is playing a different party. He's got like a druid and a sorcerer and... Matt, what else is in that party?
What did you list already?
Druid, sorcerer...
Monk and bard.
Monk and bard, yes.
Hi, Matt.
So, and Puff says hi.
Shout out to Matt, frequent or semi-frequent podcast guest.
Yes, and he is actually playing all 4 of these characters as women in this one, and they're actually all elemental based. Like they're the races of Filth and Ifrit and all the elemental themed races. So it's really interesting and really fun, and I've made up my own world for this story, and I actually just put him through a very Legend of Zelda style twist on the storyline.
Cool.
They had been gathering these genie themed artifacts, and well, once they got them all from each of the 4 elemental planes, it kind of allowed the lady who had given them the prophecy in the first place to get the crown that controls all the genies, and now she's taking over the world. It's nice. Matt saw it coming, but he nicely played along because his characters did not see it coming.
Okay, so back to the question that we skipped over. What would you like to see the industry do more of in terms of like female characters and gender inclusiveness and that kind of thing, specifically? But we'll also like open this up to more general suggestions too.
First thing I'd have to say is more active campaigning to get, you know, the younger generations, and more girls just, into it. Not all girls are into the fantasy type setting, but I've seen games for younger girls. There was some like a witch game, just trying to, introduce the younger crowd into it to, show people that it's not, oh my god, it's the devil, it's satanic, and all that other stuff. It's really not. More.
If there were a horse RPG, I think Liz would be on that train in like 2 seconds flat.
I mean, really, just you can set up anything. Like, I was actually having a conversation with my sister about this, because my sister is the anti-geek, she is, I go to football games, I go to bars, I tailgate, yada yada blah. I don't, she does not game. And maybe you hear the thunder. I'm having a thunderstorm, yay.
But we had that thunderstorm like an hour and a half ago.
Oh, so it came here. I was telling her that you can essentially turn anything into an RPG game. Like, she was like, is there a Game of Thrones ones? I was like, I can make you a Game of Thrones RPG. I can.
Dude, I think there's an official one.
There probably is.
If there's not, there's an unofficial one.
If you like, just pulling crap out of my head, if you like the Mortal Instruments series, you can make an RPG about that. If you like Percy Jackson, you can make an RPG for that. I think just,
I should run that.
That would be fun. I'd really love to be a half-blood. That would be awesome. We'll talk about that later.
Fate.
We will definitely talk about that later.
Yeah, later. Later. No more center.
Just really, some more marketing towards everybody, not just people that are technically already into it. Just try to open it up some more.
I'd like to see more mainstream advertising.
Yes. I never see commercials for D&D. You should have commercials. You should have, print advertisements. If anybody within the, industry, I am a graphic designer. If you need my services, I am here. I will help you. I will.
We'll put her contact information in the description, so that any potential employers listening to this podcast can hear that Puff is selling herself on the internet, and will gladly work for them.
I may not sell myself cheap, but I guarantee that my work is good. Continue.
Okay, yeah, industry, things you would like to see more of, gender inclusiveness, females, et cetera. Allison, go.
I would like to see in both the artwork and the actual people working on the games, I would like to see diversity. I mean, Pathfinder has done a pretty good job of it in their artwork in particular, showing, women, people of color, all that kind of thing, in the classic classes, because, oh man, Pathfinder in particular has this amazing drawing of the paladin, and she's a girl. Their canon paladin is a girl.
Nice.
Cool.
Why?
A black girl, actually, or dark color, not the,
Cool.
um,
I'd like
so
to see,
I would
like,
like to do that.
I'd like to see, like, advice in, like, core books, not just, let's make an expansion with this culture that's based off of this real world culture. I'd like to see more advice in core books about playing the different classes from different types of cultures.
Yeah.
Like, how would an Asian cleric or a cleric from an Asian influenced society be different from, like, a European cleric? Be different from, like, that weird druidic tribe in our main setting that lives off in the woods and chants to the spirits? Be different from, how do the elves worship versus how do the humans worship? I mean, that gets covered a little bit, but there's no, like, okay, here's this human from this place and this human from this place, and, how are their traditions different? What are their paladins like? What is a warrior from this, area look like different from a warrior from that area? And just have more diversity in, like, the descriptions of the classes and the races. I mean,
Yeah, because one set of warriors from one tribe might use, axes because they're easier to make in that region because they have the materials, whereas another one might use bats like, hidasas.
mhm.
Because that's just what they have resource-wise.
The other thing that bugs me in gaming as far as diversity goes is the whole good race, evil race thing. Because, like, okay, we have the high elves over here who are all, like, universally good and universally snooty and universally this and universally that. And then we have the dark elves down here who are, like, universally evil and all universally worship this demon queen, except for, like, this one sect over here that we created because it made an interesting backstory for the novels we're trying to sell to make money.
Yeah.
All dragons of a certain scale color are evil, and all dragons of a certain other scale color are good. I mean, real life doesn't work that way. I mean, it could be ingrained in the culture to do this one thing or that one thing, but I don't understand how just being born a green dragon makes you automatically, like, eco-crazy and terroristy and I want to devour all humans.
That is true.
Well, to be fair, no one's ever met a green dragon that was raised by, someone else who is good.
True.
So, obviously, they're all going to be lawful evil.
But, like, the setting doesn't encourage, that kind of experimentation.
A lot of GMs don't either. I mean, I've seen, not that I've personally experienced, but some GMs I've heard are very particular. Like, no, if you're playing a drow, you're playing a drow. If you're playing this, you are playing this.
This is giving me ideas for whenever I finally get to resurrect my dragon campaign.
Cool.
Oh, there might be some, like, evil bronze dragons and stuff.
Cool.
That'll make the setting even more deadly. Yay!
The third thing is that they seem to acknowledge ethnic diversity in humans, and then all the elves are monochrome.
Yeah.
You know, there's Asian humans and African humans and, French humans and German humans and, Australian humans. I've never actually seen an Australian campaign setting, but that would be freaking awesome, so there need to be more Australias in gaming. But, you never see, an African elf tribe in, core or expanded anything. You never see an Asian elf. You never see an Asian dwarf. You never see, and even if they decide, okay, the elves are from some other culture, it's not, there's another culture of elves. It's, the elves are all Asian, and the dwarves are all African. You don't have, there's white dwarves and black dwarves and Asian dwarves and, And I mean, that does make sense if they're limited to one geographical area and you have the humans that have, kind of overrun everything. But it makes no sense that there could be an entire race that sprawls, half a continent and have there only be one culture. Unless you have something in the setting to explain why there's only one culture. And they never do, because it's well, they're elves. All elves are the same anyway, right?
Nope. That's like saying all people are the same.
Well, as the trope says, our elves are different.
Yep. But, it's never, some of our elves are different and others of our elves are different from those elves. It's, our elves are all different from your elves.
That's bringing it back to what I was saying about, making, it, all inclusive. Most people want to play characters either like them, want to see characters like them, or play a character completely opposite of what, everything they are. And if you don't have
Excuse me.
that kind of diversity, I mean, I would love to play, some sort of, Italian kind of mafia equivalent in Pathfinder or something. I think that would be awesome.
Dude, all of a sudden, all I can think of is, the elf mob. The elven mafia. Wouldn't that be a cool idea? Or, no. Imagine an elven triad gang.
Dude.
Chinese elves with elven Chinese mafia.
Dude.
This is why I like the Azamar, though. Which is why I'm playing an Azamar in the Epic game, because the Azamar can look like, whatever is derivative of their ancestor who was a god or a celestial or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I can say, okay, Hadassah is descended from, Goldmane or similar, and therefore she has dark skin and white hair. Ta-da!
I like tieflings for the same reason, but also because I like playing dark characters with redemption stories. And that's another thing that I don't like. Oh, your character is descended from a celestial being. Obviously, you are going to be good, just like great-great-great-grandpa. Your character is descended from a demonic being. No matter how hard you try or how often you work to try to overcome it, you will, never be able to overcome the fact that great-great-great-great-grandma was an evil demonic witch, and therefore you must always be chaotic evil. That's the reason that I don't like Supernatural, by the way, is because everybody hates Sam because, spoilers, he's got demon blood, and, every time he tries to, redeem himself, the writers are like, nope, you can't, because you are automatically evil. But anyway, I digress.
All I'm going to say on that, Soulless Sam is the best Sam ever. Now I'm done.
Okay. We're done. We have tainted Byron's podcast enough.
Enough.
But yeah, I hate, people who deny redemption stories because there's still, like people, we're still all maybe not necessarily human, but we're still all living sentient beings with free will, meaning we can choose good or evil regardless of what's in our blood.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, it's definitely something that's doable. I mean, like Byron is going to be running a evil Star Wars campaign for me, where I will be playing eventually a Sith. And specifically, he was like, "So you want to be straight up evil, no redemption whatsoever?" I was like, "No, no redemption, because I want to just do a straight up evil campaign." But if I was doing, say, my character was already a Sith in a campaign with more than just me, it might come down to me going, "Hey, you know what? These guys have really kind of opened my character's eyes. I think we could do a redemption thing here." I would probably be pretty pissed off, especially if the other player characters have done such a good job of come with us. This is the light. Come with us, kind of deal.
Mhm.
And then the GM was just like, "No, you're evil. You're just evil."
Mhm. People talk a lot about alignment slip like it's a bad thing, and in some cases it is. It is a bad thing because, like, if you're supposed to be playing this super uber heroic paladin and you go around, shooting prisoners in the head while they're bound and helpless, then you deserve losing your, paladin powers and everything you get. But if it's a deliberate thing where you're like, my character is turning good, then, alignment slip shouldn't be a bad thing. I mean, heck, one of the most popular video games of all time is about a Dark Knight who decides halfway through the game that he wants to become a paladin because he doesn't want to be in the darkness and evil anymore. And that's Final Fantasy IV, by the way, in case you couldn't tell. But, I mean, seriously, redemption stories, they're awesome. Why do people hate on them so much?
I don't know. I personally like them. If, obviously everything...
They can be done well and they can be done badly.
Oh, yeah. I'm not, trying to excuse Snape apologists. Or Draco.
There's nothing wrong with Snape.
There's nothing wrong with Snape. There's something wrong with the apologist part. He never did anything wrong. More,
Well, I could disagree with that because he was pretty much the one that was like, prophecy, this, that.
There's
opened his mouth, but
okay. There's a difference between, okay, this character screwed up, but he had reasons for screwing up and he made it better, and he never did anything wrong, and you can't ever say that he ever made any mistakes, like, ever.
Oh.
When it comes to redemption storyline type stuff, I'm mostly just hating on Angel. Screw Angel.
Angel is horrible.
Give me Spike any day.
Hell yeah.
I'm an Angel fangirl, but at the same time, the last, 3 seasons of that show were terrible. So, the first few seasons
a whole lot of
pretty
Angel. I've only seen the first season.
I love Spike. I'm gonna be the new big bad. Oh, I love you, Buffy.
I'm the new big bad. Oh, wait, Angel's trying to destroy the world. Screw that. I like the world.
I haven't seen enough of Buffy to really know anything about Spike, so I will hold off my input into this conversation.
I keep forgetting that you're like 20.
Well, I've seen some of Buffy. I've seen some episodes, but I haven't seen a lot of them.
Yeah, because they're probably only airing on like Logo or something.
I think you can get them on Netflix or Hulu Plus or something.
It is on Netflix.
Amazon Prime.
I just
think it's on Amazon Prime,
had the chance to watch
Well,
Buffy.
when you get the chance, watch it, and please do allow for the fact that the seasons get progressively better.
Oh yeah.
I've heard that like the first few seasons get progressively better. There was a lull where like Joss Whedon lost his inspiration or something, and they were kind of like meh, and then they got better again, and then they were like meh, and then they were amazing, and then it ended.
It starts off kind of campy, kind of because they're young. Like they're young.
Campy and cheesy.
Campy and cheesy can be good, but you also have to remember it's like taking place in the 90s.
Yeah.
You're seeing my child.
Those are bad.
Yeah, hairstyles. Yeah.
I'm not young enough that I don't remember the 90s.
I remember them vividly. I remember most of the 80s too.
But anyway, we are digressing very far off the topic at hand.
We are.
Although Buffy gaming would be pretty cool because I like the whole
Connected
vampire
back.
hunter type thing myself.
And not trying not to spoil anything for the one who has not watched Buffy, but particularly the grand finale in season 7 is very girl power.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So yeah, yay Buffy for like, because wasn't it one of the early shows that did a female character and did it correctly? It's considered one of the best girl power shows out there.
It is, considering, it was based off of the movie, which was... didn't the movie technically bomb?
The movie was a terrible camp fest. It's one of those so bad it's good. Yes, there's a Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie.
There was a movie?
There was a movie. That came out.
It is unbelievable levels of camp.
Yes.
Well, considering the fact that the title, no offense, is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I was like, people like this show, people watch this show, this sounds like the campiest, stupidest thing ever.
You need to start with the musical episode. Half of it won't make sense, but watch it anyway.
I have
watch it
that I should
anyway.
start with the musical episode.
Once more with feeling.
So awesome.
Um,
Love that episode.
But yeah, so Buffy and like girl power shows were like really, really popular in the 90s. Because I remember like there was Buffy and there was Charmed and
Xena.
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 Yeah.
My cousin was the biggest Xena fan that ever lived. I swear to God. Like, my cousin, when she was little, was like, oh my god, Sailor Moon is, like, the best thing ever, and I'm totally into anime, and everything that ever came out in America sucks, and I'm a total anime hipster before that term was even coined. And then, oh my god, there's Xena, and dropped Sailor Moon like a rock.
Yikes.
It does make me wonder what happened to all the, I guess, girl-centric shows, because, like, Clarissa Explains It All and Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I love those. There's not anything comparable on now.
No,
I remember Sabrina the Teenage Witch, kind of, because there was, like, the live-action one, and then there was the animated one, and then there was the one that was live-action and animated, and then there was...
It's been a manga, too.
Yeah.
It's been a manga. I think there was a Sabrina the Teenage Witch anime.
If they do it right, the show Girl Meets World, if they do it like they did Boy Meets World, that will be phenomenally amazing.
Yeah, there was like Charmed and Xena and Buffy, and I don't know where they all like went. Because they were gone by the time that I was watching mainstream TV.
Yeah, and I mean, like, now you've got stuff that's like, you've got True Blood, where you're, what?
Well, Moonlight was pretty good.
What other show? Honestly?
Blood Ties would have been good if it had lasted more than a season and a half, because the network screwed it over.
I'm gonna admit it, like, sex is, like, dominating all the shows. Like, I cannot name a series. Game of Thrones. Sex.
It dominated Dracula, too, which got canceled after one season, but that one season...
Wait, Dracula got canceled?
Yes. Sadly.
Aww.
Because everybody on that show was ridiculously sexy.
I need more
That show,
Jonathan Rhys-Meyers.
from what I heard, though, it had more to do with the main actor's like drug problems and stuff, because he was told that they would terminate his contract if he couldn't get
Quite
clean.
possibly. I have read that he is kind of an asshole.
Yeah, they basically something about they would terminate his contract if he couldn't get clean. But anyway, we are no longer on gaming. We are on fangirling, and
That's part of being a girl.
then again, Byron should have known that would happen when he handed the podcast over to me, Puff, and Allison.
Yep.
It would have honestly probably even been worse if Liz were in here, as far as the fangirling goes.
Fangirling is a thing.
It's part of why we are in fandoms and why we do a lot of the things that we do. I mean, that's part of role-playing right there. I mean, why would I do a Transformers or Resident Evil game if I wasn't a fangirl of both those?
Mhm.
You know, why would you put your energy if you weren't a fan into something? If you didn't like fantasy, why would you do it?
Oh, I have a topic. I have a
Uh-huh.
topic that allows us to turn this segue into an actually on-topic discussion. Fandom gaming. Love it or hate
Love it.
Fine.
it. Like, games that are fandom-based. Like, somebody wants to run a Sailor Moon role-playing game, or somebody wants to run a Buffy game, you know?
Okay, definitely in favor of. I have made a homebrew system for Avatar: The Last Airbender,
Mhm.
among other things. But yes, I am a fan.
Have any of you ever run into people who make fandom gaming a chore? Because I have. Specifically, two kinds of people. The rabid fans who look at you taking one creative liberty and go, OMFG, you're doing it wrong. And the second thing I completely forgot, so we're just going to pretend I never said it. But like,
I mean, specifically like when I was doing forum role plays, which like a lot of them we would do on like Live Journal, Greatest Journal, or Insane Journal, whichever journal let us have the most free icons. Like the main thing with that was you literally had to submit like a character, contractor. So like you had to do like a full-on bio. You had to have like,
I should link you guys to some of the character bio forums on the freeform ones that I run, just because I've had people come in and just do ridiculous crap.
yeah, and you have to have those things set up to make sure that this person's competent, B, that they can type.
See that they're following the frickin' rules.
Yeah, they understand the character and all that stuff. Personally, it was a pain in the ass, especially if I wanted to pick up more than one character. Thankfully, most of the time, since I was so good at what I was doing, the people running the game, I ended up, being part of the staff anyway because, oh, you can do graphics. I was like, yeah, I want this other character. Don't make me write a whole nother bio. Okay.
I never got into the forum role playing specifically because you basically have to fill out a damn job application for it.
Yes.
It depends on the site. I would like to think that my bios are basically what you would write up for any role-playing character that you're doing. They're basically character sheets, but with no stats. Like,
some people will go a little overboard.
Yeah, I'd like to think that mine are pretty fair. Name, age, occupation, powers, if there's any powers in the setting, sometimes multiple equipment, if it's applicable, what your character looks like, what their history is, and what their personality is. Fairly simple. But anyway, we're going off topic again. Slightly.
It's really tough to say because role-playing, like I said, in the forum sense is way different than RPing in the tabletop sense. Because obviously in the forum, you're in control of your own character, and it's all type-based. Once you're done with what your character's doing, you gotta sit there and wait for somebody else to do something, acknowledge it, blah 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 blah.
Although there are like play-by-post and play-by-email, like actual like tabletop games with systems and stuff like that too.
That is true. That is true. What the hell was the question again?
We were talking about fandom-based role-playing. I'm actually about to introduce another question.
Oh, well,
Okay.
yeah, fandom-based is awesome. Love it. Let's go on.
Okay. So, original characters versus canon characters.
Oh,
Do you have a preference as to which people play and why? Do you have anything against people playing fandom characters? Do you have anything against people playing original characters? Point of view, reason for point of view, debate. Go.
Allison, I will let you go first.
Alright, I'll start on this one then. Now, keeping in mind most of my experience with this has been on, like, Neopet forums. Yeah.
But also in, like, games you run and play, like, tabletop, not just...
Well, yes, I have run some Mutants and Masterminds with X-Men, so yeah.
Mhm.
In general, if someone is playing a canon character from the fandom, from a specific universe and specific set of characters, they need to be able to play the character well.
Agreed.
Like, it's not cool if you're gonna try and play, say, I don't know, Spike if we're doing Buffy and just do a shit job. And you know, when I run X-Men, if you're going to volunteer to play Nightcrawler or Gambit, I'm going to expect you to at least attempt the accent. It's part of the character. It's how they're written in the comics. Give it a shot.
Even if you do it poorly,
Even
at
if you
least.
do it poorly, as long as you are, you know, playing the character well overall and saying things that they would say, even if you don't have the accent 100% on point. And I've been fortunate to play with people in you know, X-Men one-shots that can play the characters well.
Mm-hmm.
What's your opinion on, like, original characters in the X-Men universe or in the Buffy universe or whatever?
That usually comes down to the individual universe. And to the original character. If you're gonna play a Mary Sue, I don't want you around. Similarly, you know, if it's playing in a play-by-post or whatever, where there are no rules or stats or whatever, no god moding. It makes it less fun for everybody else.
Mhm.
But in general, if you can actually come up with an original character who is not overly perfect or overly angsty or, you know, just generally bad stereotypes.
Super angsty characters can be fun if you play them well.
Yeah. It also depends on the game. If the game is not geared or set up for super angsty characters, then it's kind of annoying.
Yeah, you have to know when to bring in the angst and when to not bring in the angst. Play Zuko, not Sasuke.
I don't know. I know those are from Naruto.
Zuko is from
Zuko is from
Avatar.
Avatar.
Sasuke is from Naruto. Play Zuko, not Sasuke.
Gotcha.
Puff, your turn, unless Allison has more points.
Nope.
Okay, Puff, your turn.
All right. I I enjoy canon characters. Usually if I do a con game, Transformers, you will be playing canon characters because I am making your pre-gen character sheets. That being said, I'm very picky about which ones I use. No way in hell am I letting a player character have control of Optimus Prime. Or Megatron. That's just not happening. You know, I tend to, for that type of setting, I tend to pick ones that are generally easy for people to be able to pick up and play and not have a hard time really doing the characters. Resident Evil, I prefer for people to do their original characters because if you're gonna play like Jill Valentine and all this stuff, well, why don't you play the video game? you know. Not to say I would never do let people do canon characters, because again, I am perfectly fine with that. Really, it just depends on like what game you're going for. If you're going for a game like if you're playing a Harry Potter game and you didn't want to actually be Harry Potter, you wanted to explore more of the world, well, there's probably a school in America, there's probably a school, in like Germany or so, like, pick a school and make your own school,
There's obviously Durmstrang and Bobaton.
Exactly.
For obvious choices.
Exactly. Explore that a little bit. Try to figure out what those schools are like, like I said, it will really just depend on what kind of a game you want. If you want to play X-Men, you're just like, you know what, I really want to just, have a group where, Miri's going to play Kitty, Allison's going to be Jean, and I'm going to be Storm, just because we want to, that's great. Or if everybody just decides, you know what, I want my own mutant, I want to create one.
I will say it's usually best, in my opinion. Sorry to break in on yours there.
Go ahead.
But I feel like it usually works out best if it's either all one or all the other. I have seen it work with doing original characters and canon at the same time, but it's not always a good idea.
It really isn't. I feel like, the non-canon player characters are trying to more, not show off, but try to assert their dominance over the already established canon character, as it were, I guess.
There's also an issue of, like, power level, too. Where if you're playing, like, brand new, like, taking the X-Men as an example, if you're playing, like, brand new mutants, just discovered their powers entering into, Xavier's school, they're obviously not going to be as powerful as, the canon X-Men, unless you set it during a time when the canon X-Men are also just brand new mutants discovering their powers. And then the people who are going to want to play the canon X-Men are not going to want to play them with the, like, newbie powers. They're going to want to play them with the established, like, super controlled, current comic book timeline powers, and it just doesn't mix well.
I agree.
And then I'm actually going to throw in my 2 cents here. I have the slightly unpopular opinion here, actually, in this group. I very much dislike, if I'm running a canon game setting, people playing the actual canon characters, but that probably has to do with some very bad experiences I had in freeform roleplay when I was younger, when I was starting to get into the hobby, with people playing the canon characters very poorly. So I have a tendency to, when I'm the GM, and I'm running a game that's actually in an established setting, to say that all of the characters that people play have to be original characters, unless for some reason I really need people to play the canon characters. Like, for example, at one point I was going to run like a Bleach RP, and there's certain canon characters that have to be there. And as the GM, considering the number of characters in Bleach, I couldn't play them all. But at the same time, you also had to like put in an application to have one of those characters, because I just got so sick and tired of people mangling canon characters in role plays. So when I'm GMing and when I'm running, I just like having people play canon characters just because of how many times I ran into people doing it poorly. I prefer to run for originals.
I can agree with you on that. If obviously you have to be able to play the character, you have to know the character. Like, I really don't know Blink from X-Men like at all. I could never play her because I don't know her. You give me Dark Phoenix and I will give you something spectacular. You know, and the same for stuff like Lord of the Rings. I could play Merry or Pippin amazingly well. You give me Aragorn and I'll be like, what? I'm comic relief, leave me alone. You know,
I once, actually going back to what Allison said with Neopets, I was a big role player on the Neopets forums for a while, and as those of you who know me know, for those people, you know, listening to the podcast who probably don't know anything about me, I am like the biggest Kingdom Hearts fan you will ever meet ever in your entire life. And I actually got screamed at by people in a Kingdom Hearts roleplay I joined for playing a character in a way that I felt was proper for the character. Because I was playing a character who was, you know, somewhat of an emo. The character of Riku, I don't think either of you two know anything about Kingdom Hearts.
Nope.
But he's basically hot emo bishy dude. He in the first game was like a villain and then like reformed over the course of like the middle game, and in the second game he was like a good guy. And so I had him apologize to a character who he had done some pretty terrible stuff to and like wronged, and apologize to them for having wronged them and asking if they could ever forgive him, which is something that he's done a couple of times in canon with other characters.
Mm-hmm.
And that character, completely out of character for that particular character, like, rolls on the floor laughing and calls him a whining, crying, wimpy little girl for apologizing, because, you know, men don't cry, and whatever happened to you being the super athletic dude you were at the beginning of the first game, and now you're just a wuss, and ha ha ha, you're so funny, I can't believe this, you are such a, you know, ridiculous, and then out of character I got basically left out of the roleplay for playing the character wrong. When I wasn't.
That's messed up, because I've had completely the opposite. Playing in a Harry Potter game, I was playing Katie Bell, who, pretty minor character. She was the one who Draco Malfoy cursed with that necklace that was meant for Dumbledore. But the game was actually sped up in time to where they were. It was after the whole war, yada yada blah blah blah, and her and Draco actually kind of, you know, ended up alone together for some odd reason, and they actually talked it out, and like she like flat out forgave him for what he did, because again, it's X amount of years later, he's changed. The player had worked on him to change. You know, he was still a smarmy little dickhead, but but, you know, he wasn't, you know, Death Eater, you know, he was, you know, fairly redeemed. Still an asshole, but yeah. And no one had a problem with us with that because obviously we took the time to consider, the story has progressed. He has changed. People change, As much as people like to say they don't, they do.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry that you got ran out of a game because people are assholes.
Yeah, but just kind of explaining the background as to why I dislike other people playing canon characters in a game that I'm running, especially in a setting that I know really, really well, because I get really particular in some cases about, or I used to kind of have a stick up my butt about it too, about people playing characters differently than how I interpreted them. And I have this urge when someone's playing a canon character in a game that I run to kind of like course correct them. And I also know that that's kind of a bad thing to do. And it just people doing it wrong gets on my nerves. So I have them play original characters and change the world up so that I don't have the urge to become one of those people that I hate that are all like, oh my god, you're doing it wrong.
I can understand that. For me, unless you're like literally you're flat out, if you are flat out playing, trying to think of something, if you're playing Spike and he ends up acting basically like Terra, I am going to look at you and be like, what? But I mean, if you're playing Spike and every once in a while he's like out of character a little bit, I'm not gonna have a. I don't want to say that I don't have a stick up my butt, Miri. I'm just. I don't want to say that. I'm less OCD than most people in that regard. There we go.
Yeah.
However, there are certain characters like I will not allow most people to play Sideswipe in any Transformers game that I run. I did at a convention once, and it was actually very awesome. But he's like my Transformers baby.
Yeah. Sideswipe is the character that you have to stick up your butt about.
I do, and if you're playing him where he's like all of a sudden he knows the square root of 679 or something stupid, I'm gonna look at you and be like, dude, Sideswipe is kind of like not that smart. Don't do that.
Also, like you said earlier, somebody has to really know the character well in order to play them, and in some cases has to have like the skills to play the character or be willing to put in the research. Like, there's a game that I really like called The World Ends With You, and one of the fan favorite characters is like this super math genius. That's his shtick. He is like, everything that comes out of his mouth is a math pun to the point where some of his phrases have become internet memes. If you've ever heard the term so Zeta slow, that's where that comes from. So if you're going to play this character, then you have to be willing to do the math stuff that goes with them.
Yep. You have to do the stuff that comes with the character. We have gone for like 2 hours.
I was about to say we probably should wrap it up.
Holy crap, we have been going for like ever.
Yeah.
I was kind of expecting Byron to come in here by now and be like, what are you all doing? You're just sitting around and talking, and do you realize how long you've been talking for?
Well, he can't say that or he'll be a hypocrite, because he and Howard do the exact same thing.
They do.
Okay.
So segueing back, just to the original topic, females in gaming are awesome.
Yep. Girl gamers rule. So just a summary of everything that we've done. We've talked about girls in gaming. We've talked about guys' attitudes towards girls in gaming. We've talked about things that didn't really involve gaming because, well, we sidetracked. And then we talked about fangirl gaming. And think we'd better wrap it up because Byron's looking at me funny.
No, actually, I was just wanting to see if you all were wrapping up. I was
yes.
coming to do our usual in spiel.
Okay, so this has been Miri. I'm going to be handing the headset back over to Byron to wrap everything up, because despite everything, he is the actual host of this podcast. I almost said co-host. I can't believe I said that.
He's a co-host tonight.
I got to vote in my own bloody show.
He is.
At least this time you weren't, hog-tied under a desk.
Puff says at least this time you weren't hog-tied under a desk.
Oh, that's very true.
So anyway, I will be handing the headset back over to Byron so that he can wrap up his show.
Alrighty. Well, I hope you all enjoyed.
I don't think we ran it any more off track than you usually do.
No, probably not. From what I was just hearing from Miri, no, probably not.
I think we did pretty good.
Yeah.
If anybody out there listening has any, questions or anything directed to Allison, Miri, or myself about the games that we've mentioned that we've run, things that we've done, hit up Byron. He will let us know that you have a question.
Yep.
Also, I know you're all wondering, yes, the Puff is single. I am the only single one on this podcast.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
yeah,
really
actually,
sorry.
that's true. I'm sorry.
That'll be my second blatant advertisement here.
All right. Well, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, what the fucks, or date proposals for Puff, you can email us, tweet us, post on the blog, comment on the episode on YouTube.
We broke Miri.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. We didn't mean to break Miri.
Oh no, that's breaking hers fine. So hopefully you all have enjoyed this all-female episode. I know just from what I was overhearing in the other room, I thought it went rather well. I'm actually anxious to hear it all, from all of your all's perspectives.
We had a lot of technical issues, but
when don't we have tech issues?
it wouldn't be the podcast if we didn't have tech.
Exactly. It was like y'all said earlier. Y'all went off on a tangent. It's an official podcast. We have tech issues. It's an official podcast. So, anyway, thank you all for joining us this week. I'd like to say there will be a podcast next week. I'm gonna try to make sure there's a podcast next week. It might be us doing the Epic game, is what our podcast is next week. We'll have to see. So, anyway, thank you, Allison, Puff, and Miri, for taking the time to do this for myself and for the listeners.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. And, again, thank you all for joining us this week. And just remember the motto of Rho Pi Gamma is roll high, play well, die hard.